doing well, wherever it is you're watching us from. Listen, if you've got some young people close to you, you better sit up and listen, because this conversation is one we hope will shed some light, some insight into a matter that is close to everyone's heart. It's all about our youth, and it's all about shaping the future workforce. And you wonder why. I'll tell you why. Number one, the youth make up 70% at least of Africa's population, sub-Saharan Africa. 70%. That's a huge number. And this number is slated to go higher in the next few years. Think about all the targets, the years set aside by SDGs and all the others. We're talking about 2030, 2050. We're going to have something called the youth bulge. Close to 1 billion young people bristling with excitement, with passion, with ideas, innovation, hungry for opportunity. But are our jobs growing at the same rate? Question is mine, the answer is yours. Are our youth prepared for the jobs of the future? These are questions that we seek to answer tonight. What does it actually take to unlock the full potential of Africa's young generation? And this is no simple generation. This is a generation like no other. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a generation that's the most ethnically diverse ever in the history of Africa and in the history of the world, for that matter. This generation is influenced by and is influential in the so-called macro-social movements and spaces that shape who they are and what they think about life and work and society. And tonight, we're going to try to just tap into the knowledge that they've got, tap into the ideas and the insights that they've got, but at the same time, tap into the insights and expertise that we have tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, I decree that the conversation begins now. And with us to help us understand this a little bit better, we've got two people, among others. And karibuni sana, ladies. Today, for the first time, we have a panel entirely made up of ladies. They say most of the times the gentlemen don't give visas for ladies to come out in the night, but I'm happy that we've got a very, very good panel tonight. First of all, closest to me is Scholar Odhiambo. Karibu sana. Scholar is joining us as a career development practitioner, and I'm sure you've got lots of insights there.
Sure.
Thank you. Next to Scholar is Najda Khan. You are a regional people and culture expert. Sounds very interesting. I hope as part of your introduction, you'll help us understand exactly what is a people and culture expert.
Sure.
And this is quite apt, ladies and gentlemen, because part of what we're talking about is about people, and it's about the culture that needs to change, the culture that is already changing for the sake of our young people. Thank you so much for coming. Maybe just a quick one before we shift over to the other side. Let's start with you, Scholar. Where do you see, just in a nutshell, in a sentence or two, what are some of the biggest changes you've seen in terms of youth today at the workplace?
Thank you for that question. One of the interesting things is the dynamics that comes with Gen Zs, Gen Alpha, straight from what the millennials were and even the traditionalists. And you'll actually find that being supported right by Mark Savikas, which is one of the cognitive theories that we have as far as constructivism is concerned. Because this particular generation is not only curious, it's not only controlling, they are confident. And at the same time, they know they are in control of their lives. They know what they want, they know how to get it. They have the AI. There are so many of these factors that are forming from the information age. It's a tech world. So they are in a generation where they know what they want. They can confirm what you're saying. They'll just Google
and verify,
AI,
and check
ChatGPT.
Receipts.
Enough. And out of that, they'll be able to either classify you, either you as being authentic or being redundant. So right from the onset, and it's some of the things they've been taught right from class. So it's a very dynamic age group. It's a very dynamic working future at work, especially, and brings with it its own challenges and its own advantages.
I love that. I love that. And we shall be delving deeper into all of what you've talked about in your introduction. Thank you so much. Najda, talk to us from where you sit. Where do you stand on this? What do you see?
Thanks.
In a nutshell.
Thanks for that. Frankly, I don't know why we're having this discussion almost 5 or 6 years after this new generation has been in the workforce. I mean, the oldest Gen Z is about 26 or 27 right now. So they've been working with us for a while. Corporates that are forward-thinking and plan ahead should have been ready for the Gen Z and what they were coming with a long time ago. Frankly speaking, we should be talking about how we can prepare for the Gen Alphas that are going to come. Because if we think the Gen Zs have come loud and proud and they're owning what they want, then we've got another thing coming. So the thing here is that I don't think, when the millennials came about, we had the Gen X and the boomers saying, oh my God, new. Everyone fights change. So the Gen Zs have come with a change. It's not really a change. I'd like to make this very clear from the onset. The Gen Zs have come with the energy that is forcing corporates to look at the cracks within the organizations. And that's the problem. So it's not a Gen Z.
Check.
I want to be very clear here. Gen Z is basically, listen, the chickens have come home to roost and the Gen Zs are the ones holding their hands there. But those cracks in our systems, the overworking, the lacking mental health, work flexibility, all the things that they ask, transparency in leadership, all the things that they're asking for are flaws that we already had existing in them. So they're just making us look in the mirror. We don't like going into our closets and look at the skeleton staring back at us, but the Gen Zs are making us do it. And so for that, they've been labeled lazy or stubborn or, all these words we like to hear, but it's a lazy narrative, to be honest.
There's more to it.
There's more to it. It's just they've made us look within and we have found cracks and now we have to face them and we are looking at them as scapegoats. In a nutshell, and without mincing my words, that's exactly what we're looking at.
Well put. And we shall be, once again, delving deeper into that and just unpacking that for the rest of us. For some of us, the look in the mirror will require a few serious adjustments. We might need to wipe the mirror first to have a look. George,
yes.
What have you got on your end?
Absolutely. And talking of the 70% of, the gentlemen and ladies who form the population countrywide and even globally, they also form the hugest population in our studio tonight, and we have them. They will be telling us how they are navigating it. The workplace, especially Najda, has already said that it is 5 years since they started working. We shall also be getting to know how they are doing that. And on this end, I do have a group of young people. To my immediate right is Imelda Bieta Akof. She is a student at the Kenya School of Law. Welcome, Bieta. Or next to her is Brian Mutevu, former JKUAT president, 2023. Welcome, Brian. On the far right is John Hillary, actuarial analyst at Actserve Limited. You shall be telling us what exactly you do. Of course, middle is Theo Valnin, account manager at Nornan Auctioneers. Welcome. And also, finally, is Kevin Apodo, executive director of Be the Leader. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on the program tonight. And I want to begin with you, perhaps, Imelda. You're at the Kenya School of Law, so you have pursued your first degree and in the postgraduate diploma. When you look at the career that you chose, owing to the circumstances that you've seen and how you've seen this career develop, were you ready to join the traditional way of how you found things going?
I'll say no, because I think what the millennials or the other generations are used to is not what I would prefer to do. Because I don't see the career I chose is quite flexible. So unless you're under someone's employment, then you can decide the working hours you get to do. So I don't see why you'll be under someone 8 to 5, waking up crazy hours because of the traffic in Nairobi, unless you're in other cities, and also having to deal with crazy bosses or the HR screaming at you 24/7. I wouldn't want that for myself or for anyone else. So I think that is what inclined me more towards doing law, because then you can get to be your own boss, where when you feel you're burnt out, then you can tap out and say, no, this is enough for today. Tomorrow is also another day. So I've never quite understood the essence, and this is no offense to any other generation, but I've never seen the essence of having to work under someone 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. it's crazy.
So the legal field, whereas, we all know that, afterwards there is the legal firms that come up. There is you're either on the bar or the bench.
Yes.
And so when you look at the dynamics that you're in right now, what is the future like in terms of what you project? Where would you, be leaning towards, the bar or the bench?
The bench.
The bench. And so when you're on the bench, it therefore means that your employer is the public.
Yes.
So looking at how it has been and the dynamics you're even seeing, even the, current dynamics and the current trends of the latest news you have tonight, of the push and pull between several arms of government, what are some of the things that perhaps you feel that when you get there, you'll be able to adjust?
The biggest issue for me has been the fact that justice is only available for those that have money in their pockets. So then justice should be done to all. The Constitution rightfully says so. Because if you look at the disparities in how people are treated in the justice system, you'll clearly see that people who are moneyed get away with a lot, as opposed to, let's say, the chicken thief somewhere in the rural areas, sentenced to 5 years, yet someone has stolen billions from the government and gets away with a fine or a slap on the wrist. So then that for me would be the biggest thing, just to make justice accessible to each and every person, regardless of what is in their pockets.
Okay. And, do you think that then the 8 to 5 thing will be something that you'll conform to?
But then people on the bench do not, I know they'll get mad hearing this, but people on the bench, you don't have, there's work outside sitting during court hours, but then you can adjust. It is not cast in stone that you have to be in court 8 to 5. Just the flexibility of it is what I'm looking at, so that you can decide, okay, today I'll do maybe 8 to 8, so that tomorrow I can take my child to school or for something else.
Brian, are you employed? Are you working somewhere, or are you still in school?
Currently, I'm still in school, but I've been in internships or attachment. That is what you call it. I also would like to put it forth that I'm a biosystems engineering student. So for me, I think the set of challenges that I have experienced is a little bit different. Let's say the universities, I'll start from the statistics that we have currently. Kenya every year releases around 50,000 students, like from graduates in our universities. That's around the number that we have every year. So what worries me specifically is now a different side. For lawyers, you have to be a lawyer maybe in order to practice law. It's that simple. But when it comes to the other careers, you find that most of the other maybe courses that you're undertaking, let's say that you're a person in engineering, there's a lot of, you need to have a lot of side skills, and you can just fit in anywhere. So that is having like less focus in terms of industry, in terms of like, this is engineering, this is what I did, this is exactly what I will go into the industry to do. I think the path is not clearly outlined unless you're in maybe the courses such as law and medicine, the ones that you have to practice that way. But when it comes to the other issues, let's say for me, I was a bit lucky. I was attached somewhere in manufacturing, but you find that most of other people, they're not really attached in places where they have been really trained to undertake, or the things that they're really trained to undertake. So I think that's quite the issue that for me, I think is a bit worrying when it comes to our employment. Yes.
Indeed. We've heard from two Gen Zs and young people in the studio. When we come back, we shall be, of course, hearing from the rest of the panelists, even as we invite your feedback on the topic tonight, shaping the future workforce. Tonight in the People's Court, continue engaging us, send in your questions. What would you like addressed? Which industries do you like adjusted? And how are you ready, if you're watching us as a young person, to assimilate into your bosses, who are, of course, in the older generation? What are you doing differently? And how is also school treating you? We are back in a short while. To stay with us.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his
It is exactly 6 minutes past 10 p.m. Thank you so much for staying with the People's Court right here on TV 47. We are looking at shaping the future workforce, even as we look at the conversation around, the future of working, especially with the different dynamics and demographics that will be coming up in the workforce. Now, before we went to the break, the two young people we have on the front row were talking about flexibility. You, John Hillary, you're an actuarial analyst. How flexible is an actuarial scientist and analyst in the workplace?
Okay, it depends with the perspective that you look at it from.
Yes.
We'll start with the different kinds of jurisdiction that you'll be working in. So, as an actuarial analyst, personally, I've had the opportunity to work with different people, different countries, different industries. In terms of flexibility, in terms of getting time, that will now have to depend with the company that you're working for. If they've already adopted the hybrid models, if they give you more space to be innovative, if they give you if they also practice other diverse industries apart from the traditional actuarial industries that the actuarial skills are applied to.
So your generation has been, the one that keeps on talking about mental health issues, toxic bosses, and that can be a conversation that the older generation may be quite unfamiliar. Talk to us about dealing with that shift, especially in the current and contemporary issues that we face.
Okay, I'll start with it from realizing why there needs to be an overhaul of the work environment, like bringing in things like the hybrid working models. This generation, it's a generation that doesn't like it's a generation that really is interested in their mental health. Okay, they don't want that too much pressure. Okay, so when they are there in the work environment, and then you want to bring them in with the pressure, that the performance pressures, the traditional work structures, it gives them a lot of pressure. So we are seeing them coming in through preferring more preferable working structures like the hybrid model where you can work at home, open communication where to talk to so and so I don't have to get to somebody, I don't have to go through so and so. Okay. They really prioritize open communication and just that flexibility within their work structure.
Theo, when you look at the issue of terms of employment, the older generation was more concerned about permanent and pensionable security of work. How have you found this model of working that you are with now? As an account manager with Noran Auctioneers, are you finding that a contractual work basis is better than, say, permanent and pensionable? What would you prefer? Okay.
Because the contract is a bit that you get your salary on time, mine time, then but the pension, the insurance are being covered, and you'll get them after work. And with contract, you get inclusive everything to the salary. When you're receiving, it's like, let's say 50,000, you receive it, so you know how to balance this salary. Then with the pensional one, they do it for you. They make sure that they drive it on, but the time you're receiving a salary, you're having minus those stuff.
Okay. We'll come back to you. Let's sort of few things, but then let me engage Kevin Opodo here. When you look at the young people that you deal with and the dynamics that they're involved in terms of permanent and pensionable, the choice of work, what are some of the lessons that you're learning, even as a person and even as someone who trains people to join the workplace?
I always get power when I talk after people speak. Because we have been doing employability skills training for, I think, over 5 years now. And we've been able to train people from within and outside Africa. And I want to tell you that employability the issues that we face as Kenyans are the same or similar to those that Nigerians face, and similar to those that are faced outside of Africa. So what I want to say is that this is a generation that has come to break the status quo. You understand? They are called the internet generation or the internet dwellers, you understand? So for them, information is ready or available for them at disposal. So what I want to say, because I heard everybody speak, and I think something that came out is that issue of 8 to 5. I know they talk about 8 to 5 not being the right model for them. It is true, because as I said, they've come to break the status quo, and that therefore means they are trying to implement, and this is the language that the government perhaps needs to understand, that they are trying, or we are trying to implement what we refer to as a gig economy. You know, gig economy, for us Kenyans, sometimes it only applies for the musicians or maybe people in the creative industry. But a gig economy means something short-term, something contractual, something not permanent. So that is what they are calling for, or what they are demanding for. So to me, again, they said about, you know, toxic bosses. You understand? This is my piece of advice, and especially to those who are about to graduate into the workplace or who just graduated into the workplace. You cannot overlook the power of capacity building. You cannot lead before you serve. So that therefore means if you want to lead, if you want to become a CEO of your own startup in future, you must start by serving under someone, because that is when you're able to capacity build, and that is when you are even going to know how to live with your employees or people who work under you. So we cannot rule out that. The other thing, maybe as I give chance to the rest of us, is I think the issue of, he talked about mismatch in terms of what you studied versus what you are doing currently in life. By the way, that is so normal. It is super normal. But again, I will blame it on our education systems or the curriculum that we have, because most of the times we do courses based on the placement that we get by the Kenya University Placement, whatever commission. But again, you realize that some of these young people, and I have examples to mention, they do these courses because they've been placed there, not because they are passionate about them. They do these courses because maybe their parents dictated to them, not because they are passionate about them. One example is a student at the University of Nairobi. In fact, yesterday I was having a discussion with the dean of students. And then I was mentioning that particular guy who is currently partaking education but wants to become a journalist. So this guy, what he does is, because he has talked to his parents and the parents are not, I mean, they are adamant, he has said, or he has resorted to volunteer at a local radio station during holidays. You understand? So for me, my advice before I forget is, I know we all have passions. And if you have a passion, go for it, regardless of the course that you're studying. You can be a musician by passion, but an engineer by profession. So it's okay. Yes.
Brian, when you listen to this advice before you come to the rest of the panelists, what dynamics then would you be picking in terms of the chances for you to perhaps, you know, work under someone, as it were, to be able to learn the trade?
Okay, so first of all, I usually really disagree majorly with the statement whereby you have to be led in order for you to lead somebody. This is where the older generation sometimes end up picking the wrong culture or picking the wrong style of leadership. So for me personally, how I approach learning under somebody, it's as simple as this. You have to have the traits that I want to see, that I want to implement maybe when I become a leader at some point. I will follow you because of the traits that you present. So I believe that is the only scenario whereby you have to, that is the main thing that you need to look into when you're looking for maybe somebody to work under. So that is one of the major reasons I feel that something really needs to change when it comes to how you approach life, especially, and how you approach being led by, in order to adapt maybe to a certain market or to get into the industry.
She's getting agitated to chime in.
No, from Kevin's point, I think when we talk about, and just to agree with Brian, when you talk about toxic bosses, there's a reason why the word toxic isn't that. Because their bosses were okay. So then you don't have to lead someone and you're shouting 24/7 or you're being, you get. So when there's a reason we say, and then before the 8 to 5 is blown out of proportion, what I meant is, with Corona, we saw that we could work from home. You could work remotely, you could connect with anyone in any part of the world. So then I think businesses should start adopting that. And then that even cuts on costs. So why do you need like 40 people in your office when you can have them working remotely? A woman who's just given birth, why does she have to come back to work after 3 months when you can have her working from home and still be as productive as being physically in the office?
Okay, before you go to the rest. Yeah.
And I'd also like to add something that is really, that was actually like a tweet that I saw randomly, which was actually stating, if I can just read it, is the job demanding, or is somebody really holding the work till the last minute and inconveniencing you? So when it comes also to the corporate culture, and when it comes to these people that we call the toxic bosses, is it that the job is really bad, or is it your management as the leader that is there that is bad and maybe inconveniencing the people who are in that maybe position or under you? Yeah. So that is the key question that I'd like also for people to reason. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've sorted his mic issue. You can go ahead.
I can say that this my church elder he has a certain farm, and he sorted like people mostly spend like 5 days at work. So they most of the time they don't have time with the family. Like you only have 2 days. Maybe on Saturday there's still a work for half a day. So in his farm, he sorted like 3 days you work. There's at workplace. Then 2 days you can work from home. You bond with the family and do the work. It's not a must that from Monday to Friday we should go to work. Work can be still driven at home. As long as you're self-driven, work can be done at any place. Yeah.
John, are you saving up for retirement?
Definitely, yeah.
How are you doing that?
It's okay. First of all, we have pensions. So your company contributes for you. You also contribute for yourself, okay. And then you also get the opportunity to do additional voluntary contributions. And actually, I'm a specialist in pensions. Yeah.
Would you guys go for the pensions way to save up for your retirement? I can see you taking some time. Okay, as I think about Victor, take it away, even as you engage the gentleman on this side, as well as you now get the expert's opinion.
Right. Yeah. By the way, as they were talking,
yes.
I've seen our two guests here making copious notes. And I'm very curious to see exactly what you've been writing. Let's start with you, Scholar. Talk to me a little bit about what you impressed. What really impressed you the most about what these guys are talking about? Talk to me about those highlights.
I'll actually summarize their points in 6 Fs. 6 Fs. The first one is fun. This generation loves fun. Doesn't matter where they are, it doesn't matter what they do, as long as there's something fun, that is something that will work for them. They love freedom, flexibility, they have actually exhausted it. They love family. They are family people. You can actually even hear right from the examples they are giving. Family is very keen for them. Then finances. It doesn't matter the dollars, the euros. That is a plus for them.
You can see they're smiling, every one of them.
And then there's the fairness. Don't dismiss someone unfairly. Don't talk to them unfairly. And then when you actually look at it in all that, they love freedom. Not freedom from hunger walks, no. The real freedom that I just call your boss, I cannot make it to work, and he agrees, not another, or a memo, or warning letters.
Or threats.
They don't want any of that. And after that, they are actually going to perform. They will stretch They will put in the long hours. They'll be able to give the deliverables and meet the targets as long as you meet the 6 Fs. As an employer, as an entrepreneur, they will be very comfortable with that.
Right. And Najda, you're talking about this in your introduction, and you said, in a nutshell, that, and then by the way, we're seeing a lot of young people leading a lot of change in the workplace across the world. We're seeing changes, we're seeing them taking a stance in things like discrimination, sexual assault at work, toxic bosses. Those are some things we're talking about. We're seeing young people taking a stance on even things like climate change and whether the company they work for is sustainable, is operating sustainably. We're seeing that and so on. I want you to help shape this conversation on how we can harness this energy, as you put it, this transformative energy, this energy that clearly is making some people uncomfortable. How can we harness it in the right way to be able to create a workplace like no other, a work environment like no other? Keeping in mind, we're talking about both the formal work environments and the informal, which is actually the majority. How can we do this? How can we get the best out of them?
I'll reiterate what I said earlier. They're making us face issues that were already existing. These are not climate change is not a Gen Z issue. It was there from before. So all these issues that you've mentioned, and this is how the future of work is going to be. If there are leaders watching this and, such kind of conversation, and they are serious on ensuring that their businesses thrive and make profits and survive through this period, then they're going to have to adapt. So, adaptability is now not an option anymore. If you're exactly, and that's why
adapt or die.
Adapt or die. That's literally the bottom line of all things said. We've heard everything we're going to say. Bottom line. When I speak to leaders and we talk about organizational development and transformational leadership and what needs to be done, it all comes down to the same thing. We'll sugarcoat it, we'll dust it with all sorts of sprinkles. It comes to adapt or die. And so I feel like it's quite exciting for somebody who works in people and culture, and I'll explain what that means. It's just two elements of what. Okay, basically we all know it as HR, but we don't like calling people human resource. It's
very impersonal, it's very sterile.
Exactly.
It's not...
So forward-thinking companies, quite a few of them have already done away with the HR word or the human capital development. You can't call them human capital or human resource. So now it's people and culture. So I deal from the people angle. So I mediate, I coach, I mentor. We do all those things that, from us. And then we do from the culture. So culturally, that's the strategy. That's what do I, that's people coming in with jeans and a backpack, but high performers working twice a week. And it doesn't matter if they're sitting at a desk or on a Nazi tree in Mombasa. It doesn't matter. We're talking performance, we're talking KPIs. So if that's your culture, that's what we bring out. So when you talk to, and you'll be key on the language I used when I didn't say just leadership training. Leadership training has now died. Leadership is taking a transformational turn. And that's why it's so exciting. So that's why I said, from somebody in my expertise, this is very exciting. The clash, the friction, it's all exciting because I'm able to look 10 years from now and see the businesses that are going to be there. When the dust settles. Friction. Because it's adapt or die. It's just taking more people longer to come to that point. But when they do and the dust has settled, it's going to be a brilliant place to work. Because now we're not going to be sitting behind closed doors and having those conversations just on paper. We're going to have them now. Like you said, sexual-based gender violence. It's been hush-hush in offices. Mental health. Did you notice this month how loud suicide prevention talks have been?
Absolutely.
I think this year more than any year before.
Absolutely.
Why? And I always tell company leaders this. I know you sit here with your big, with your expensive suits and your big ties, and you think you create cultures in organizations. You don't. You're paying people like us to create that culture. That's where your job lies. It's the workforce of now that's predominantly your 26, 27-year-olds who create this culture. So I think that coming down to adapt or die, if one thing we're going to see change the most in now, it's changing, and it's going to be the biggest change you'll notice, is leadership styles. Leaders have to adapt. Leaders have to become flexible. Now, we've been throwing a lot of words, baby boomers, Gen X. I'm just going to give you the demographic a bit.
Please
so
do.
we can understand, because I think a
People
lot of
at home,
times people
I hope
say,
you're paying attention.
a lot of people say we don't so in Africa especially. So why is it so much in Africa that we're still having this conversation? Why is it such an issue here? Because we still had the traditional leadership style. You were saying you have to report to this one and that. There's a hierarchy. It's like, because people, it's that under the Mugumo tree, come to me, then I'll go to this person, then I know somebody. There's no transparency. There's a whole line of hierarchy you have to follow, and that has to die. So in the West, in Europe, in other parts, South Africa may be leading a bit, but within this part of Africa, we're still behind because of traditional leadership. So why? Because the two main demographics that are holding the leadership roles are your baby boomers. These guys are born between 1946, 1964. So they're 60 years and above. True or not? That's the old guys there. Whether it's in government, whether it's in corporate, whether it's privately owned. Then you have the Gen X that comes after them. That's your 65s to 80s, 1965 to 1980. So 43 years old, 58 years old, somewhere around that year. Second most highest demographic holding leadership position. And
senior managers and so on.
CEOs there, and that's it. And now what these two...
But they're saying it's their time. It's our time. We've worked for this thing.
But I'm trying to explain to viewers and everyone who's watching is why the clash. These two generations share a few things in common.
Okay.
One, they're very rigid. They do not adapt well to... They're not fast. They don't adapt fast to change. They value stability. To them, everything is stable. Is it stable? And then they're very directed. So everything has to follow that level, even if it's 20
protocol.
Exactly. Their resistance to a lot of change, their resistance to rapid change, it's a big issue. And then you have millennials. We're the digital nomads. So, right, millennials are the 1981 to 1996. We were born into the internet, right? The internet came with us, so it was like fun. It was all that. But we were okay with having the conversations quietly. And then you have the Gen Z. They came in and now tech. Like I said, you'll tell them, in 1947, this treaty was signed. And because of that, that's why you're able to afford the shoes that we're making here today. They already tell, no, there's no such treaty. That's the kind of people they are. So again, they will demand that transparency and they'll show it to you and they'll say, and then they're very pragmatic. So there's no that emotion of, oh yeah, or whatever. It's not that they're very pragmatic. And then, like you said, they're socially driven.
Right.
So what happens is, so we have two generations that are rigid, and these are the ones making those decisions and that's why you have all these complaints.
I see.
You see, that's the problem, if we understand that. So now, if you still want to remain leaders, you said, they're saying it's our time now. Yeah, the wazes and all that, we have to be there. I don't agree. It's not your time. It's way past your time. But if you still have to be that way, you have to adapt.
Play the game with the new rules.
And that, by the way, leadership skills 101. Vision, visionary, adaptability, forward thinking, Like when COVID came, didn't we see leaders looking towards the millennials and saying, what do we do? What do we do? Because the millennials were the ones who were ready to go on MS Teams and have all those meetings, and the ones who taught them. And so they adapted.
Okay.
But then we see the same millennial type like Elon Musk. So from Elon Musk all the way down to the guy on Kimathi Street who has 5 people working in his cyber cafe, everyone decided we didn't learn anything from COVID. We had probably the highest staggering statistics of high performance during COVID when people were working from home in their pajamas than we did ever before.
Wearing suits and ties and dresses in the office.
And then we've come today in 2024 to say, no, it has to go back to how it was before.
Right.
So it's a leadership problem.
All right. You know what? I like where you've left it, because now I want us to shift into the future. But before we do that, I wanted to take a short break. And Scholar, I want you to prepare something. Someone here said something very critical, that there's a mismatch. We've got an engineer who's being forced to pick up other skills just to try and fit in, you know? I want you to talk to us about the mismatch between what the market wants and what the schools are actually training these young people, preparing the workforce of the future without future-proofing them. Talk to me about that after the break. Good people, this is it. Send in your questions, send in your feedback, send in your comments, and George over there will be able to sample them. We're going on a short break. We'll be right back. It's been hot, it's been heavy, it's been critical. We'll be right back with more after this.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Right, guys, if you've been watching, you know it's high-octane reality here. You know, just before we went on break, we were made to understand exactly why the friction is there between the different generations and who's in power, who's the custodian of the jobs, the opportunities, and the pipelines to those jobs and opportunities. And we're starting to see a little bit of that. But one of the things that came up just before we went on break, when somebody on the other side spoke, is there's a mismatch between the skills and the information that is fed during the training, that is school, and what the market actually requires, what the market actually demands. And there's also something of, a lot of youth are being forced to shoehorn themselves into places they have no training for, just because they need to get a job, they need to make a living. Scholar, what's your take on this, and what solutions, what proposals would you put on the table for this?
Actually, that is what I do professionally, and that is what career development practitioners address. Because we take your personality to match what you do. So it is who you are to match what you do, and not vice versa.
Not what you studied or not what you do.
No, it starts from who I am. So I am scholar. This is how I am wired. My personality, right from one of the things we call about John Holland, we call reasex. So are you a realistic? Are you an investigative? Are you a social? Are you an artistic person? Are you conventional? Are you an entrepreneurial?
Are you an activist?
From your personality. For me, I'm a social. So talking to people is wired. It's in me. It is who I am. Now that helps you to avoid the mismatch. But you'll find right from the education system, and then after you've placed, they've mentioned about how you're placed right from COOPS, because you've got an A.
Yes.
COOPS, everything, they're actually changing. And how that change is that since October 2023, you're actually going to apply for COOPS after you have finished your Form 4. And after your grades are out. So that helps us to have those logical conversations. If you got an A, if you got a B, if you got a C, where are you able to apply? Which institutions is it are able to apply? Who are you? Who is Brian? Who is Calvin? What is it that they're going to be able to study in school for them to be able to thrive? Then again, the same government has also put in places measures. This year, we had the launch of the framework of the career guidance framework. And that helps not only the institutions, but also the workplaces and the industry players. There are right now 13 sectors where we have committees being able to paraphrase even what is happening in the industry, right from school. So even the industry is being placed. These are policies that are in place. The other day I was in a panel where we were discussing about the work-based policy, so that you're able to know what is happening in the workplace, where is it that you're going as an institution, who is it that you are as a person, to help address the mismatch and to help address the skill gap. At the end of the day, we also know without a coach, you become an amateur. So you can imagine right from standard 1, you had a teacher. Then for your career, which is going to be the longest, you have no coach. So where are you going to? You're going to be an amateur at the end of the day. So you have to know who is it that you want to know. He talked about mentors, people who are ahead of you, people who are going to help you get to know that this is your career map, this is where you are, this is what you want to attain, this is the kind of sacrifices and the kind of goals that you need to do. The moment you have your career plan, the moment you're going to have, because at the end of the day, career is lifelong and it is life-wide. It ends when your life ends. That's the biggest picture everyone needs to do. But the moment you know how is it that you're able to maneuver, and there are very forms, they talked about hybrid. We have something we call protean career. What is it that you're meant to do right from your 20s to your 40s, to your 50s, to your 60s and your 70s? Because at the end of the day, you still need to be on the cutting edge and remain relevant in this particular generation.
I've got another question for you. So you say, for some people, I mean, they're looking at you and they're listening to you and they're saying, hey, makosa imefanyika, we were not guided properly, but here we are. So what tips would you give somebody who's trying to find their place in a career, in a job? What tips would you give them right now that they can adapt into exactly what they're doing? For example, our learned friend, or still learning friend, this one. What can you tell her to align to what she says is her desire? She doesn't want to work for somebody in a stuffy office full of records and everything. Do you? She doesn't. So how can you give us a practical idea of how somebody like that can find their path to their dream job and be productive and be impactful in society and for herself?
For not only learned friends, we call them learned friends, and all the way to senior counsel.
Right.
One of the things they need to do is they need to have a self-assessment. She mentioned when in terms of they've helped us reflect on who you are, on what we do. So the moment you have a self-assessment, you're also able to do psychometric assessments. Psychometric assessments, they help you measure your mind. The moment you measure your mind and learn, this is what I did. It's true, I am a lawyer, but out of my skill set, what is it that I can be able to do more? What kind of value proposition do I offer, not only to the employer, but to the society and also to the enterprises? So the moment they identify that, right from your skill set, what is it that you'll be able to acquire over the years? It gives you a cutting edge and helps you know which kind of roles are you able to apply for. It helps you know which kind of opportunities are you able to go for, including global. Right now, you want to work at home, but you're not only just meant to just work in Kenya. It's becoming a global village. What is it opportunities that you're able to apply for? How are you positioning yourself on social media? How are you positioning yourself on LinkedIn? Who is seeing you? How are you tweeting even what you have? Who is seeing you out there? Do you have even articles written by you? So the moment you get to align all that as a person, it gives you a cutting edge. She can tell you when she's hiring. These are the things that I'm looking for. People look for basic things. And right from social media to how you've positioned yourself to how you present yourself on interviews. He talked about employability skills and mentioned that these problems are across the globe. So it tells you the same person sitting somewhere in Russia or Netherlands or in Germany are the same problems they could be having here in Kenya, and probably even have better solutions than they have, in spite of our shortcomings of what we have. I love what the government the other day is doing about Pamoja. You've all heard about the Pamoja project, and I'll delve into it. But you'll find currently right now, things that never used to exist, we have things we call career fairs. Every school right now has a career wheel, whether it's in Turkana, wherever in the city, there's all a career wheel. Then now we've moved that and taken a notch high to job fairs. Job fairs, now you get to meet the employers. We have one right now at Kiwanja this week on Thursday at Kiwanja Vocational Training Center behind KU. And the job fairs, we're going to have a lot of employers coming, being able to show you that this is what you need to do, this is how you need to present yourself. And even including another one that Germans are doing at the Sarit Center. Okay. So you'll find they're actually back to back. So from career fairs to job fairs, what is it that you're able to do? How is it you're able to position yourself? Your CV, is it meeting ATS threshold? You're talking about being a lawyer. Does it have the lawyer kind of words, the kind of words that the learned friends meet? And everyone needs to know that the moment you position yourself in terms of that, in terms of what is needed in the market, you find that you will not miss it out.
Opportunities are there.
Yeah.
I want you to jump in here. I mean, we've been talking about, and I say this with the utmost respect, I mean, you guys have gone to school. You guys have opportunity. You guys speak good English and you articulate your points. But listen, there's a large group of people out there who they call NEET. You know, they're not educated properly and they're not in employment. But they're out there and they're part of the majority. They need jobs too. They need opportunities too. What can you tell us, and Nadia, I want you to jump in here. What can you tell us about that group of people? What can you advise in terms of how they can also position themselves to be able to attract the attention of a recruiter such as yourself? How can they find a way in or position for themselves in the workplace of the future?
Okay. I'm going to answer this in twofold because I think it's extremely necessary. One, the simple answer. I don't think it's fair to say today that I'm not learned in something. Because first, we're driven by passion. We've heard that. So what are you passionate about? You're passionate about human development. You're passionate about training. Today, we have amazing online trainings that are free or cost like 400 bob. Udemy, for example. We have LinkedIn Learning. Schools like Harvard, Kennedy, Stanford, everyone, they all have, every one of them as part of the CSR have free trainings. You can actually go to Harvard, Kennedy today and get a training in leadership. Okay, so all they're telling you is if you want the certificate, pay $300, but the training is free. I just feel like there's no excuse. So it comes down to an issue of the mental health of the nation. Because you'll wonder, you have internet, maybe you have access to it. We have these Ajira, what's it called, these programs, the digital programs that they're putting up computers and giving people internet and stuff. So you've got the tools, but why aren't the youth using it? Because we know that the consumption of drugs, the statistics are staggering. And that's being done because people are also, they're dealing with a lot of mental health issues. So we can't keep burying our head in the sand and pretending like these are not conversations we need to have. On the other hand, we have the government who is faced with, for a long time, an unemployment issue. So whether you're learned or not, I mean, are we going to help these unlearned people get jobs when the learned people are struggling to get jobs with all their CVs and all the accolades that they have? And then this government, and I think the past one, I don't know, for a while the Kenyan government has been trying to, with the bilateral talks with quite a few countries out there, and, to be able to send talent, export talent from Kenya outwardly. And I think that we need to discuss that element from a people and culture expert and what effect it will have. It's amazing because if you look at a case study like, for example, Philippines, the Philippines have done that. They're actually the poster boy for exporting labor.
Right.
For a very long time, we've known that they've done that. And yes, they had what? I think recently they said 36 billion in remittances contributed to 9.3 of their GDP.
From exported labor?
Yes, from exported labor.
I can see that guy writing down what you're talking about. Yeah. What's your response to this? You guys, I want you guys to talk to me.
But
what are you thinking about this?
There's a big but here. The remittances they brought into the country's GDP was massive, but the price they have paid for it is also massive. Mm-hmm. Philippines sectors like healthcare, engineering, IT took a massive hit.
Because they exported everybody.
The country has not been able to grow in those. Those are three pillars that hold the country up because everyone felt, I'm going, and I'm going. And if we're going to sell the same narrative, I think we're doomed to fail as well. So as you answered, there was a big but in my...
Thank you for delivering that, a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
Talk to me, brother.
For me, I have somewhat different opinion from what most people think. Actually, I think that exporting labor is something that we really need to look into. Actually, I would do it. But how would I do it differently? Because here are some of the factors that we need to look at. The first issue that we really have an issue with is how our labor is treated once we are out there. Because I don't want to leave Kenya. I'm an engineer. I know I am bright, and I'm told to go wash a toilet. It's okay, I'll send back the money, but really, is that what my brain is worth? So that is the critical factor that we need to look into. The other issue is that we are a capitalist society. This is why I agree with it. For our country to develop, we need the capital. Are our capitalists doing enough? If they're not doing enough, it means that we need to source for more resources. And this is simply one of the methods that we need to send people out there to get it from where the capital is, that is the developed nations. Kenyans, we need to accept the fact that, guys, we're kind of poor. We need to get this money from somewhere. So that's something that we have to agree.
The guy behind you smiled at that particular point.
Yeah.
Do you agree? What do you think? What do you think about what he's saying?
I'll support him because I say, like, when there's that export of labor, when you go outside there, you'll be treated differently. With your skin color, with your papers, they'll be put in a dump site. So if you go there, you'll have to do a different work. Maybe you'll work at a gas station or a cashier. With this, you are the engineering, you are visual artist, your accounts, all will go at waste. So you'll have to start afresh. If you go there as a nurse, or as a medic, you'll start afresh. So this kind of labor export at times might look like it's slavery in modern form.
John Hillary, what do you think?
There are actually a number of skill sets that we are advantaged of, and it's best to actually do your learning here in the country. The first one is medic. If you want to be a medic, just be a medic here. If you want to be a learned friend, just be a learned friend here. If you want to be an engineer, you can start your basics here, then you advance. So you'll actually find, even as Kenyans as we are, there are some of the things that we are advantaged of. If you go and want to be a learned friend, you'll come, do your finish, pay all $million, then come back here and you're told to go to third year, and you still have to go to Kenya School of Law. So you actually have to know what career path are you taking. There are some that when you go out there, there are advantages for you. Then the other thing is, in terms of positioning your particular skill set, you've mentioned you're going to do the other jobs on the other side. But if you go with the basics, you'll not start from scratch. You'll actually have value for what you're doing. Your value proposition is way higher. But the people just want, and he mentioned about the need, not in education, not in employment, education and training. We also write from the statistics of what was released by KNEC. You can actually see where most of the people are. But this is what I am telling them. They have a skill set. Currently, our education system is changing. The kind of skill set and the kind of portfolios they are bringing and creating right from grade 1 will actually position them and give them a better skill set, even as they continue to junior high, to junior secondary, and also to senior high. The 844 system never had an advantage of that.
All right.
But you'll actually find the moment you learn that, even them, young as they are, they're able to trade their skill set. So at the end of the day, they'll not be having someone who will not be able to trade their skill set, both for finances or for any other opportunity that may arise.
Kevin, you've been angling to chime in. When you look at this conversation and the people that you push to get into these fields, is there a disconnect?
Yeah, definitely. I prefer to be more practical than I would be motivational. And just before I go to the main point, there is something we need to be practical about. And honestly, I'm proud to say that even within your studios, there is a beneficiary of our training, the employability trainings. And, when I was talking about this, and then she was like, oh, Kevin, I saw you will be coming to our studio. I'll be actually interpreting, So what I want to say is this. Did you know that we have those cousins, we have those brothers, sisters, and even relatives, that you cannot even refer to come and work here. You understand? But they are learned. They are qualified. You understand? So it's about their personality. It starts from you. So come to ask yourself, yes, we are craving these opportunities to go and work. Are you able to work? Yes, you've got the papers. Are you, are you a representation of that particular paper? And in the virtue of, or in the spirit of practicality, this is what we did to our education system that is currently hurting us. We were told, go to high school, then go to college, and then university, bring us the paper, we are going to give you work. You understand? So when these people go to school, the aim is to get the paper, no matter the means. You understand? So when you go there, and I train these people a lot, by the way. I know a number of them are currently watching. You talk to them, and then somebody tells you, Kevin, give me this week. I have exams. By next week, I'll be free. So what that implies is they only, or in most cases, only read for exams. They read to do exams. Once the exams are gone, they are back to other things. And you see, that is quite very dangerous for us. You understand? And that is why you see a lot of politicians. The moment I know I'm going to vie for a gubernatorial seat in 2027, I need to rush, go and enroll for a degree. You understand? Then come back, do my own things. So that is what is really putting us to where we are.
Okay,
so
right.
Yes, we are craving these jobs, but who is supposed to create them? Let me give you another example.
Briefly?
Yeah, briefly. I know from where we live, the estates we live, there are these women who actually, they walk around with boyos, yeah? And they sell some deodorants or maybe liquid soaps, right? But then if you have a conversation with them, they will tell you that some of them didn't even proceed to high school. Are we together? But they have the knowledge or they have the ability to make that particular soap. But in all honesty, which course am I supposed to do to be even able to invent a locally made soap or even deodorant or even, all these things that we are supposed to use for sanitation? Just a minute, George. Yeah, kindly.
Okay.
Then you come to realize it could be a biochemist graduate or a chemical engineer or something of that sort. But then what are these graduates doing upon graduating? They are doing assignments for the whites in the name of online writing. You understand? So as I wind up, that is an issue that we need to address. And I want to tell you this, that for the over 5 years that we've been doing these trainings with the, in the support with, through the support of our partners and all that, talking about being able to make yourself visible, just like a scholar talked about it. That is what we refer to as job seeker visibility. Yes, you are in school, you're still studying, but what are you doing out there that is branding you as the engineer you are? What do people know about you? They need not only to know about you being a student, but they want to see some value in you. There is a lady that I use as an example, a friend. She's called Janet Machuka. I used to host Janet so many years back at the American Corner Moi. So she would travel all the way from Eldoret to Nairobi to come and speak to the people or to my audience. And then she would just request for one thing, that Kevin, just make sure that by the time I am done, I have some nice photos for my social media platforms. Okay. That is branding. You understand? So all these conversations, I know each and every party, each and every individual have their own perspective. And that is why to us, even from the partnerships that we have, today we just, I just perused through, or I just signed into action an MOU between us and UNICAF to be able to offer scholarships to our beneficiaries and all that.
All right. So I'm sorry, Kevin, we're completely out of time.
It's okay.
I do love what you're saying, and good people, how can people reach you? Do you have a social media that people, everyone, 30 seconds for a parting shot?
Yeah, we'll start with you.
Keep it nice, keep it tight, keep it fresh.
Your closing remarks seem not to be ready. Let's start with you.
So it's okay. Thank you so much. Now, this generation, I like calling them digital natives. They've grown up with technology. They understand the language of technology. They interact so well with technology, and most important of all is they've seen the efficiency of technology. I mean, I've seen a car taking me taking 5 minutes to get me somewhere where I could have maybe used 1 hour. So growing up with this exposure to technology and seeing the efficiency in technology, when I get to my work environment, then it is my expectation that the use of technology is going to be continuous. Okay? So companies have to invest in their digital infrastructure to make sure that first of all they are increasing efficiency, and then they are now they are now accommodating these incoming generation.
Okay, Brian.
So for me, I think my parting shot would be to just emphasize on one thing, that we need to the society needs to educate mostly people about the needs that need to be met. That's the first thing. And then the second thing, when it comes to the industry, there are 2 key questions that people need to ask, actually to answer. The first one is, when you're dealing with the younger generations, just explain to them why you need them to do what you need them to do. And then from that, if they have a different opinion, just ask them how, if you do not understand it. And then the other question is also ask them why. And then when you're able to answer that iterative process, I believe that we'll have a more fitting or a better working culture, a better actually industry for each and every one. Yeah.
Brilliant. Imelda?
Mine would be just a call to businesses, to our parents, to the older generations, to take seriously the issues on mental health and mental well-being. How I wish we could treat the issue on mental health as much as we look into physical health, because when you're having a headache or when you're not feeling okay, you go to the hospital, you take a time out, your body is communicating to you. So when someone says, oh, I'm depressed, I am suicidal, I am going through 1, 2, 3, 4, it's not for you to say, utakuwa sawa. Just treat that, because everyone has different triggers, everyone has different things that are happening in their lives. So something I read somewhere is that those who have mental health do not get it. So I think just be more empathetic as parents, as businesses, as enterprises to the needs of this generation.
Okay. Theo?
What I can say is that the employers need to have more time with their employees. Like you find that most of the employers can't engage their employees. Or when the employees see the employer, you see them, the whole company freeze. And there's this that employers will find more time engaging with the employees, like finding maybe a day out with the employees, or organizing like an event to create more the employees to blend with the employers, and the employees to blend among themselves.
Let's come to this table. Naja, you start off.
Okay, thanks. So before I wind up, just in one sentence, based on the discussion we're having on labor exploitation. So according to the International Labour Organization, a 1% increase in youth employment boosts a country's GDP by 0.3%. And as Kenya, we can't just give that up. That's a massive number if you look at it in the grand scheme of things. So if this is supposed to make business sense, we should not be exporting our labor. I want to just end by saying that, again, if we're making business sense of Gen Z and working with this new generation, according to Deloitte has projected a $143 billion global talent loss if companies do not adapt to the expectations of Gen Zs. So to any leader who's out there, who's still rigid to those adaptations, they make sense. Each one of them, whether it's mental health, whether it's work flexibility, each one of them makes business sense, and it's going to increase performance, which means it's going to increase your revenue. So if it's all about business sense, then if leadership doesn't adapt, the consequences are profound. Okay. You know, not just losing talent, but also failing to innovate, to stay competitive in the global market. So the choice is clear: adapt or be left behind. So I share expert opinions on this and similar topics. So if you want to connect, you can find me on LinkedIn.
Okay, just give Kenyans, what's the full name on LinkedIn that I can find you on?
Najda Khan. Just look for that and you should be able to see the picture, just connect. And like I said, I share expert opinions on this and similar topics, so I'm sure it will be beneficial to everyone.
Excellent, excellent. And last but not least, Scholar.
Thank you so much. I think for me, I'll recommend 2 books that everyone needs to read. The first one is Dominate Your Job. And the second one, that is by Johnny Smoke. And the second one is Big 5 Careers by one of us called Hilary Mugoya. And one of the things I need to know is that 85% of your success is determinant of your soft skills. Doesn't matter whether whichever hierarchy you are, 85% is determinant of your skill set. Make sure you walk your career journey with a career development practitioner. For my LinkedIn handles, look for me on Scholar Murage, right across Facebook, Scholar Odhiambo, sorry. You'll be able to find me there, Scholar Odhiambo. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Scholar. For a second there, we were afraid we'll sound there. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you, ladies. And thank you all to the 3 ladies and the 4 gentlemen that were with us. Thank you so much for your insight. Thank you for making time to come. We appreciate you. What you had to say was valuable. Asanteni sana. And I hope you can come back again to share more on this. My name is Victor Muyakane. Good night. George. The show is yours.
Absolutely. We've had on this table Naja Khan, a regional people and culture expert. Thank you for joining us. Scholar Odhiambo, career development practitioner. We've also had Kevin Apodo, executive director, Be the Leader. We've had Imelda Beata Akoth, student at the Kenya School of Law. Theo Van Lin, account manager. Noran Auctioneers.